The company says its vaccine is 95% effective. Now a panel of experts is set to review the trial before sending recommendations on emergency approval to the FDA.
With all Marion County schools going virtual by November 30th, the Mind Trust is doubling the number of e-learning sites like this one. The sites provide free supervised remote learning in a classroom-like environment. They're seen as especially critical to working parents who don't have paid time off and can't afford childcare. Even expanding to 22 sites won't meet the need. The Mind Trust, a nonprofit, is hoping donors will step up to help fund more sites.
And Governor Gov Holcomb and First Lady Janet Holcomb tested negative for COVID after they were exposed to the virus earlier this week. Both are continuing their 14-day quarantine and will resume their regular schedules December 1st. Meanwhile, Donald Trump Jr., President Trump's oldest son, has tested positive. A spokesperson said in a statement Trump Jr. had been quarantining at his cabin since he learned the result on Tuesday. He's been completely asymptomatic so far. He becomes the latest person close to the president to test positive for COVID-19. The president himself, along with First Lady Melania Trump, his youngest son Barron, Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, and a number of other aides have also tested positive. Governor Holcomb's campaign has announced that all celebratory events around his re-election, including the inauguration, are being postponed because of the pandemic. This is video here from the inauguration back in 2017. The governor's campaign manager says while they'd love to eventually celebrate the start of the governor's second term, the time just isn't right. Here's another reason state health officials are so concerned about where we are right now. More COVID-19 patients were being treated in Indiana's intensive care units this week than at any other point in the pandemic. The state health department report showed hospitals were treating 3,077 coronavirus patients as of Thursday. That's a 277% increase since late September. And now more of Indiana's ICU beds are filled with COVID patients than at any other point since this whole thing started last spring. More than 78% of Indiana's ICU beds are now in use. With the surge in COVID cases across the country, doctors say masking up has never been more important. But now viral posts on social media, maybe you've seen this, they're pointing to a study in Denmark that came out saying it proves that masks don't work. So our Verify team decided to take a look.
Danish mask study find medical masks were not effective protection against infection. Quote, no evidence that face masks protect the wearer from COVID. These are just some of the claims we're seeing after this study was published by a team of Danish researchers from Copenhagen University Hospital. So let's verify. What does this study say about masks, and does it suggest we stop wearing them? To find out, we checked this study in with the CDC. Now, this study tested about 6,000 adults. Half wore masks, the other half didn't. At the end of the test, the mask wearers got sick almost as often as the non-mask wearers. The numbers are similar. 1.8% of mask wearers and 2.1% of non-mask wearers got COVID. Their conclusion, masks didn't reduce infection rate in wearers by more than 50%. So what does this mean? Well, this study is actually backing up what the CDC and other health officials have been saying all along. Namely that masks aren't meant to protect wearers from getting the virus. They're meant to keep sick people from spreading the virus. Key part here, the researchers from that Danish study say their findings don't conflict with CDC guidelines. They didn't research how masks stop the spread of the virus, what they call source control. They only researched how masks protect people from getting the virus. Bottom line, does this study suggest we stop wearing masks? No. With your Verify, I'm Jason Puckett.
And from a look at the most recent numbers, that surge isn't going away anytime soon. The state reported another 6,900 new COVID cases. 63 more Hoosiers have died. The last couple days, we've seen the positivity rate hold steady at 12.1%. Remember, we're trying to get down to that 5% mark. That's what the state wants to see. That way, state leaders say they can spot the spread and then stop the spread, I should say, and then slow it down. Now, we are constantly updating all of our COVID information, and we're putting it into one place for you to find. To see all these stories and more, just head over to WTHR.com/coronavirus.